So this is the missile's estimated trajectory. It looks almost impossible, 4,500 kilometres up. For reference, the space station orbits at about 400 kilometres. So why so high? The North Koreans are trying to make a point. 4,500 kilometres up translates to about 13,000 kilometres laterally. So this missile had the capacity to hit Los Angeles, Toronto, or New York. Donald Trump had this to say.
We'll take care of it. We have General Mattis in the room with us, and we've had a long discussion on it. It is a situation that we will handle.
It went higher, frankly, than any previous shot they've taken. It's a research and development effort on their part to continue building ballistic missiles that could threaten everywhere in the world.
And that is South Korea responding by launching its own missiles in a show of force and joining a chorus of global condemnation. Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland and U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson have announced that Canada and the U.S. will co-host a conference on the North Korean threat in Canada early next year, a meeting in the works since September. Asia correspondent Sasha Petrusik is in Beijing, where it is already Wednesday. So, Sasha, it's been, 2.5 months since North Korea last launched a ballistic missile. What do you make of that gap?
Well, that really does have some observers stumped. It could be that Pyongyang was just feeling an accumulation of insults from Donald Trump, from his speeches and tweets, and from being put on the international list of state sponsors of terror. Or it could have been simply that North Korea needs to keep testing if it wants to become the nuclear power that it insists it is going to be.
Also, I know we've been reading that normally these launches are at dawn. This one was in the middle of the night. Any idea why?
Yeah, that was puzzling. This is really a first. It could be that this was the result of fears from Pyongyang that the Americans might try to interfere with this launch. They've been running their bombers and fighter jets up and down the coast as a show of force. They might have wanted to do it under the cover of darkness. Or it could have been a technical issue. Some technical experts have suggested that by firing this thing at nighttime, like they might do in a real situation, it would give the rockets an extra boost to make it to the east coast of the United States, which would be the target, but the rockets aren't quite ready to go there yet.
Okay, entirely possible. Asia correspondent Sasha Petrusik in Beijing. Thanks. It was pretty clear North Korea was up to something. Satellites spotted movement of materials over the last 48 hours. Yesterday, South Koreans reported missile tracing radar was switched on at a North Korean base. Slivers of evidence are all you can glean from a country that from space is as dark as it is isolated. So how do we know what North Korea is really up to? That's our question of the day. Some look for answers in the sea.
The sea is a far better place for North Korea to get access to these materials. It's murkier, it's harder to track.
Robert Hewish of Dalhousie University has recently seen ships stop broadcasting their location right as they near North Korean waters. He suspects some vessels are trying to skirt the sanctions in the name of keeping North Korea's nuclear program functioning.
To have any sort of aggressive weapons program that involve nuclear material or intercontinental ballistic missiles, you require fuel, you require resources, you require parts, you even require computer programs. There are so few boats actually entering North Korean waters, the list of suspects just got a lot smaller.
Then there are the images North Korea releases on purpose. It's pumped up propaganda. Only sometimes in those pictures, there is intel likely leaked out by accident. Scott Lafoy is an imagery analyst with a specialty in missile programs. We went to him because in the blur of propaganda, he sees what the rest of us don't.
In July of last year, Kim Jong-un oversaw the launch of several Scud missiles. He oversaw the launch of these missiles from a highway that was basically two-lane highway, split down the middle with shrubbery. And then his camo tent, he very frequently will travel with this tent with screens up to protect the location that he's at, makes it harder for him to be found, makes it harder for people like us or governments to predict where he is going to be for the next test. But there is a small yellow signature that showed up. And this yellow stripe is a hazard marker from a tunnel. And there's only a few places in North Korea that have both this kind of hazard marker and this type of road. So we narrowed it down to about 3 locations, 4 locations he possibly could be in, and one that he very likely was in, the site. It helps us predict how their missiles work and sort of what level of technology they're at. In this case, it showed us they have increased mobility with their missile systems and that they are not locked in place, which allows us to sort of predict where, in the event of war, what their operational area would look like.
The imagery may even be able to reveal who is helping North Korea. Have a look at these engines, specifically what's known as their plumbing. Lafoy says the designs echo those of the former Soviet Union. And those 2 tubes on this North Korean missile truck, awfully similar to a famous Russian ICBM truck.